Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell. Lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and this week we're taking a listener question. So before I let Lee chime in on his own podcast, I'm going to say if you have a question you would like Lee to answer or a topic you'd like us to discuss, reach out to either one of us and we'll make sure you get your question here on the show. This question comes from Karen Ellis, who we've gotten to know well from her involvement in the Cockerell Academy. So before I ask the question, Lee, I should probably say hello. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Got the fireplace on. Very unusual in Florida. It's fun.
Yeah, when I was at the house recently, I was sitting talking on the couch with Priscilla and the fireplace was on, and I told Lee this is the first time I've been in Florida with a fireplace on.
We can do without it, but we need a little ambiance here occasionally.
All right, Lee. Karen has a really good question, and first she compliments the new reels that she's seen of you on Instagram. So if you don't follow Lee on Instagram, those new reels are fantastic. Almost every day, it's something new, and you can follow Lee at Lee Cockerell Magic is his handle on Instagram. So Karen's question is around someone taking time off from work, such as a leave of absence for a medical issue for themselves or a family member. And then Karen wants to know how might a person minimize the impact of their absence on the job? So she has a little follow up to that too. But Lee, let's talk about that because I know whether it was Hilton, Marriott, or Disney, you've had this happen. People take time off to care for themselves or a family member. What did you see work to help that person minimize their absence?
Well, I would say the best way to minimize that is to make sure if you're the boss and you're leaving, to take a leave for some reason. And I think eventually a lot of people might have to do that for health reasons or some other reason. But I would say make sure that you've already developed your team. When I would go on vacation and leave Disney, I'd go for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks if I was going to Europe or to Asia. And I told my staff, I had 3 ladies in the office, and I said, guys, I don't want any email from you. You know what to do. You know what kind of decisions I would make. All you do is make the right decision. And if there is an emergency and you just can't figure it out, you get in touch with me. I'd go along for a week, nothing, everything went fine. I mean, because I gave them kind of the authority to answer them. They knew my business better than I did almost, and they handled that work every day for me and answered emails and followed up and traced things and then so it's we overestimate sometimes what everything will go wrong if we're not there. If that's the case, then you haven't been a very good leader and a very good manager. So if you got the right people, I would even start, and just make a little map of what each person will be responsible for while you're gone, of the things you do now, and then give them a little training before you leave to make sure, and then you can set up a little system that if you need me, when it's really something you can't work with or you don't know what to do, then here, call me or email me or text me. But other than that, let me tell you, when I go away on vacation, I don't check in with anybody when I was working. Because if you got a team and you've hired the right people and they're committed and they're loyal and they are trained and they know how to do their job, you can get them ready for you to be gone for a little while. And so, place should not even consider falling apart while you're gone because that means you've done a good job of setting up the organization to be able to take care of those kinds of things. And yeah, and all kinds of things happen in our lives. People need to, luckily when Priscilla got sick a few years ago, I was retired, but I might have had to take some time off probably. And I hope companies are open minded to that. We talk about leading with empathy and discipline and understanding that uh, if you haven't had a tragedy in your family yet, you might. And hopefully you're working for a company that has that sensitivity and will work with you. And, I had a lady in my office. She asked to take 2 months off a month after she started. She said her dad had cancer. Could she take off and be with him? And I said, sure, absolutely. The world's not going to fall apart. Go be with your father. And she did. And she came back and she stayed for another 20 years. And she was the best person we ever had, loyal, took care of things. She was totally committed to the company because we treated her fairly. And she just did a great job. So I hate to say it, I think we overestimate our worth on a short term basis. you know, as I said, I left Disney and they opened just fine after that. Nothing happened. The clock goes on. So, and have a good talk with your boss and be both of you be on the same wavelength of that your boss might get a call when something can't be decided by the people you left behind, but it's usually a bigger worry than it is a problem. Yeah.
Well, and I think of all the good stuff Lee told us is he's right. It's probably not that big a deal. There are some things you can do by making sure the right people know, above you, below you, sideways, know that you're going to be gone. So there's no surprises, and that you've documented your processes so it's easy for someone to fill in, and that you have looked ahead, anticipated, okay, what important dates are coming up? Are there reports due? That sort of thing, I think helps minimize it too.
Yeah. And maybe just if you're the person, make a list of the things you really do every week and see who you're going to give those things to if they're kind of scheduled or that they come up occasionally. And just go over it with your staff so they can know what kind of decision to make. And, when I was gone once for 3 or 4 weeks to Europe while I was at Disney, my team sent me a photo and they were playing a joke and they were all sitting in my office at my desk and around my desk with bottles of beer and cigarettes, smoking and laughing. Wanted to show me, here's what we're doing, Lee. But I had not one single problem. They took care of everything and there was no issue. Yeah.
All right, Lee, let's bump this to Karen's second part. If the leave of absence needs to be extended even longer than originally expected, how will that be viewed by leadership? So, in the example you gave, Lee, if someone said, I need to care for my father for a month, and you plan for that, and now they say, Lee, I need one more month. How is that viewed?
Yeah, I mean, and I told Karen if she worked for me, it wouldn't be an issue. You just don't know what kind of person you're working with, and she probably knows the kind of reaction that they would get. But and I said to her, have a discussion with your boss and sit down and talk about that and bring up what if this happens? What if I do have to have it a little longer? Maybe it's a medical issue. I don't know. Just conversation, talk about it and talk about the what ifs. And then so you can go do whatever you got to do and not be under stress to worry about it. And I would hope that more and more we're getting people that have a little more empathy and they care and people are reasonable. So, but if you got to be out, you got to be out. And let's just hope that you've communicated it well, talked about it, and you got a great team that's going to take care of it, and everything's going to go fine. I think what we got to do is always be talking about it, and yeah, bring out the worst case scenarios. What if this happens while I'm going? And then the boss is on the same line and singing the same tune. So too often we try to kind of have a discussion, but we don't put everything on the table. And I guarantee you, if you tell the truth, put everything on the table, everybody will be on the same page and it'll all go better.
All right, the last part of her question. What advice do you have for transitioning back into work? So now the leave of absence is over. You've been gone for a month and it's time to come back. What advice do you have?
Well, I think you may have to be brought up to speed on some changes while you were gone, or procedures or operating guidelines, or whatever has changed since you've been gone. But otherwise, if you're a good leader, people are probably going to be cheering and have a party for you when you come back. They're going to be happy to see you, and so there's no big deal to have it. You go in. I would call my staff together or take them to dinner and thank them for what they did, and And hopefully they will know that if they need to do it, it's gonna you'll get it approved for them too. That we're in an organization where people have problems, issues, emergencies, and we're all going to take care of each other. And that way, when you have that, and everybody feels that way, I'll take care of you, you take care of me. Uh, you're going to have less turnover. You're going to have less stress in the workplace, and people are going to feel like we all care about each other, and it's not going to be any big deal. We shouldn't be worrying about that. That's what I mean. We got to get the right kind of culture and environments where we're not worrying about what ifs and things happen in life every day. There's accidents and all kinds of things happen for people, and we got to get a little more sensitive to that. That's why there's so many mental health issues in the workplace. People are having anxiety. They're worried about everything, and hopefully the leaders of the organization are not creating that anxiety by uh, showing an attitude of maybe not caring as much as they should. And you got to, when you're the leader, you got to show that you care more than you actually care. You got to really display it, and that's our job, is to make people better. So that's what we ought to be doing.
Well, if your leave of absence is going to be for a vacation, now, hopefully you're not taking a month off and saying something's wrong to go on vacation. But if you do, contact Magical Vacation Planner. Call them at 407-442-2694. Don't tell them that Lee Cockerell gave you the idea to do a leave of absence to take a vacation. Just tell them you want to go on vacation. They will help you plan a magical vacation, and there's no cost to you. It's covered in the price that you pay for your airline tickets or cruise tickets or theme park tickets. It's already built in.
Yeah, that's great.
All
Glad.
right. Well, if you have a question, reach out to us. You can find Lee at leecockerell.com. I'm at jodymayberry.com. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.